All right, so let me take you through this exercise. For this, I need you to make a decision that you will receive these words and you're willing to let them be true for you so that you can receive the potential gift in it. If your mind begins to resist, if your mind begins to push back, tell that part of you that you came here, I paid money to get this information, so don't block it. I came willingly to get this information, so stop resisting it. So let that part of you that is going to resist, I promise you, some of you are going to have resistance, begin to say no to that voice so it doesn't dam up the process. Otherwise, it's going to imprison you, and now you want to escape. All right, so here we go. So think of someone that you do not like, who seems to irritate you or to cause regret in you if you should meet him or her. One you actively despise or merely try to overlook. It does not matter what form your anger takes. You probably have chosen him already. That one will do. Now close your eyes and see him in your mind or her in your mind and look at them a while. In your mind's eye, visualize that being. Now try to perceive some light in him or her somewhere, a little gleam which you have never noticed before. It's a very deliberate process. Find some light in them because they too are as God created them. You're practicing activating your vision to see the soul of another person, the essence of another person. So in that one that you despise, find a flicker of light. Try to find some little spark of brightness shining through the ugly picture that you hold of them. Look at this picture till you see a light somewhere within it, and then try to let this light extend until it covers them and makes the picture beautiful and good. If your mind is resisting in any way, tell your mind that you really want to see this being as God created them. And remind yourself that this is a process that lets you escape from the hell that you're in every time that you think of them as that mean, bad person that they are, which will always be a projection of something in you that you have not acknowledged. So with your willingness to see a little bit of their light and expanding it, and then having a picture that is beautiful and shows their light as God created them, shows their innocence, then you'll be able to continue with the exercise and get a lot more out of it. Now look at this changed perception for a while and turn your mind now to one that you call a friend. Anybody that is easy to be with. Now try to transfer the light that you learned to see around your former enemy to that one that you call friend. Perceive him now as more than friend to you, for in the light that you see from them is his holiness, showing you that they are your Savior, coming to save you, healing you, and making you whole. Now let him offer you the light that you see in him or her, and let your enemy and friend unite in blessing you with what you gave them. You gave them the light that you saw in your enemy. You saw that light being shared by enemy and friend. And then they extended that to you. And as you receive that light from them, acknowledge it is the one light that you gave to them. Now are you one with them and they with you? Now have you been forgiven by yourself? Because by choosing to see the light in them, that is the act of forgiveness. Forgiveness is the key to happiness. It will awaken from the dream. You will awaken from the dream that you are just a mortal, fallible and full of sin, and you will know that you are the perfect Son of God. And once you can see them enveloped in that light, extending that light to you, and you receiving that light, let yourself receive that with gratitude for your willingness to give and receive light, to give and receive love, to give and receive forgiveness, and to accept our oneness as God created us. And now if you allow that vision to begin to dissipate, holding on to that light as the truth of who you are and they are, then come back to the room. Come back to the room full of gratitude that you were willing to see light in another, and that you could, by your own decision, at will, choose to give yourself the gift of seeing the light in another so that you could feel it in yourself. Because what we give to another, we are really truly giving to ourselves. By the power of our decision to follow only the laws of God, we choose to see love where love is. And depending on where you are on the bridge to awakening, you do whatever it is that you need to do, even if you have to set up a boundary. But in your heart, you can remove all boundaries and love everybody equally. But in the physical world, if you have to have separation, that's okay. Jesus understands that while we're living in the world, we're going to have to do certain things. We may not stay married. We may not stay in the same job. We may kick the child out of the house. We may do those things. But in our heart, there should be no separation. In our heart, we should be committed to only loving. Because if you want to feel love, you have to give it to receive it. Because it's that extension, it's that movement of love from you to another that activates the feeling of joy. Joy is only felt when you are extending love to something, to someone. So to activate the truth of who you are, you must give that to another. So I want to ask if anybody had anything about that experience you would like to share. I am sure some people might have more of a activation, and some of you may have had an actual shift. If you had an activation and you feel agitated, just know that the ego mind is having unforgiving thoughts. And if you have unforgiving thoughts, the best thing to do is doubt your idea of righteousness so that you can begin to let a little bit of the light move through the cracks and soften the experience for yourself. Yes, thank you.
So, yeah, I was like, but this is real.
Yeah.
This feeling I have is real. This agitation is real. No, it's not. So I went through that little door so that my love could see more clearly.
Yeah.
to cultivate that relationship of love between myself and this person. And I've never experienced, of course, that comparison because I have not studied that lesson. So thank you for that.
Yeah. When that energy
Yeah.
is active, it feels very real. And
It does.
It
But it's very
condenses.
tight.
It's very
that-
tight, and that's what makes it feel real, because in that tightness we go into protecting ourselves. But here's what's so powerful about that. It was all happening in your mind. That's how powerful the mind is. That person wasn't here, but we still want to protect ourselves from them. We still want to hold them away, but it's just inside of our mind. And that's why freedom, truth is a decision that we have to make. We have to decide that no matter what has happened out there in the world, I'm not closing myself off, because it's you who has to stay open for you to have a joyful life. You're doing this for you.
Yes.
It's never for the other person. This is a gift we're giving ourselves. We're giving ourselves the freedom of not holding density inside of us, so that we can experience the joy of being what we are. Thank you for your willingness to do that. How are you
Thank
doing?
I'm good. Because what I see is this is the language of God is a language that I need to study and learn, become more familiar with, and how to navigate this path of energy, flowing energy.
Yeah.
And I've been scared before from, I think I activated connection because I thought connection was real. So I wanted to be connected to people with great intimacy, either wisdom teachers or familial connections or friends. But it was to replace what my connection is with God. It was to
replace your disconnection, actually. Because when we know our connection is because we acknowledge our oneness. So our ego has tricked us into believing that I need another person to feel connection, but that's
So I wasn't
an
willing to
illusion.
let it go, is what I was thinking. I wasn't willing to let it go. So when I let it go, it was like, whew, okay, now let's clean this up a little bit.
Yeah, but all you let go was your thought.
My projection.
Your thought about them and your protection, which then if we're in protection, we are maintaining the idea that we're vulnerable. And the energy that you are is invulnerable. So we're accepting these seeming paradoxes that we want to be vulnerable in terms of not we want to be weak, but we want to be honest. Vulnerability is in this sense is to be honest. I have a thought about you that has me feel scared. Well, if I have a thought about you that has me feel scared or disconnected, I'm not honoring the invulnerability that I am as God created me. I'm not honoring that I'm an eternal energy here to extend love, because my function is happiness. Not for them, but for you. You are to be happy. Can I ask you another question? Mm-hmm. So this person that you had in your mind, what was the thing that you thought you needed to protect yourself from? Well, if you can name.
A history of disagreement.
And that those disagreements caused you to feel what about yourself?
Superior, you're wrong.
Okay, so in this.
This is interesting because why are you so unloving? So, and then that would find its way in other relationships and other things that weren't actually correct in thinking that. Because this was such a big deal. This was a family member, so it has followed me all my life. So it's like, oh, then that colors this relationship or that colors
Absolutely.
that. Like you were saying about Ken.
So why so unloving them? Is that the thought that you had? Why are they so unloving? So here's the projection. When you are blaming them for being unloving, it gives you the righteousness to not be loving to them. Because then it gives us permission to close the door.
So we're spending the weekend together, so be with me.
And you're going to be just fine.
I'm going to be fine. Thank you.
Yeah, you are. If you choose to align with the truth of who you are and who they are.
But also to be fine and not make it more than it is and just.
And then egoic thought comes in. Egoic thought comes in. Just forgive yourself. Oh, in that moment, I forgot that I could have had a loving thought.
Still know that I am God.
There you go. Thank you for that. Anybody else want to share? Thank you. And thank you so much for being willing to do that process.
So the feeling that I had as I was putting that person in the light, I had to breathe it in.
Yes.
Because I felt a lot of constriction, which I was not even aware of. That when I had thoughts about this person, I had to take a breath because I automatically wanted to just cut off.
Yeah.
And that was like, wow.
But listen to that. You automatically wanted to cut off.
Yeah.
Your ego was convincing you to cut off
Yeah.
love so that you wouldn't feel it.
Yeah.
So that
Wow,
agitation was
big.
you keeping yourself
Yeah.
from being able to breathe. So you were
Yeah.
holding your own nose.
Yeah. That was like, wow. I kept noticing that I had to take a breath because it was just like, I mean, that was powerful.
That's how powerful the thought of separation is, that there's another that can affect you.
Mm-hmm.
That's why this journey takes so long, because those thoughts really, we've given them all the power that we have to affect us. So we have to take the power from those thoughts. That's why every single thought has to be questioned and dismantled. We got to unplug the power that we gave that thought.
It was good.
And the power just comes back to you.
Yeah.
Now you can extend love. Doesn't mean you have to be with them. Doesn't mean you have to, maintain the relationship. It doesn't mean that. It just means that you return yourself to love. And when you return yourself to love, you now are in a right relationship with you and with God.